We're a based podcast that's lit and the GOAT, IYKYK. Hashtag sorry if we hit different because of our Riz and low-key fire. Bussin'. Welcome to Tabletop Shop.
Hello and welcome back to the Tabletop Shop podcast. This week we're talking about what is essentially Terraforming Mars the card game, and then we have created some of our own board game slang that you absolutely must implement at your next game night. I'm one of your co-hosts, Nate Clark, and as always, seated halfway across the country from me is your other co-host, Mr. Cody Pennington. I'm sorry if this is your first time listening to the podcast and you couldn't understand what I said there, but...
Huh? I understood what you said there.
No, not you. You know what I said because, like, even if I didn't say it, it's like those things where like they take a sentence and then they pull a bunch of letters out, but you can still read the sentence. Like you know what I'm saying because you know what I'm gonna say anyways because I've said it 41 times.
That's true.
But you know, if somebody's listening to this podcast for the first time, they don't know that your name is Cody Pennington.
Is this episode 41 or 42?
I think so. Or 42.
Okay.
I don't know.
We gotta cook up something spicy for episode 50.
Oh, we already tossed around an idea actually. Maybe you forgot.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we probably wrote it down because I already don't remember now.
I remember. It's good. This is good content, talking about stuff that we can't talk about.
So, Nate, I know you normally have like an intro question, and let's still do the intro question. But I actually have one board game related thing to talk about, which we'll get to.
Okay.
But then we were talking before we started hitting record. And I was like, Nate, I've got two random things to tell you about. Should I tell you before, or should we just start recording? And you were like, let's do it.
And we're recording.
It's perfect. It's beautiful. So here's the two random things. Oh, I just realized I already told you about the first thing, so I won't tell you about that. Dang it.
Yeah, this is really not great content for the listeners.
I know. The audience doesn't know, though.
All right.
We've been having weird animal encounters at our house lately. And the one that Nate already knew about that I just realized was a nutria just like walked into our backyard one time because we have these motion lights outside our house at night. And one of them clicked on. And we're like, is that just like the cat or something? And we open it up and there's just a big old rat thing just sitting there.
You know what I'm picturing?
Just chilling.
I'm picturing the Hounds of Baskerville episode of Sherlock where the guy's in his house and then like his floodlights keep shooting on and off.
And then there's just like a wolf outside. Well, I guess you don't see it. You just see his perspective. I don't know.
I've got a question.
I'm sorry, I ruined your reference.
Did you have a shotgun in hand?
No.
All right, just checking.
That's in the other room. Anyway, yeah, there was a nutria there, and I took a little video of him. He was just chilling. I don't know what he was up to. There are like a couple little creeks nearby, so he must have come from
I was
there.
gonna ask. They like water, and I don't remember there being water near your house.
Yeah. But our area is like fenced in, so he must have like crawled between a crack or something. But anyway, there was a nutria. Then the other day, we found a big old snail in our garage. And again, our garage is sealed, so I don't know how he got in there unless, I don't know, when we were leaving one time, we opened the garage door.
And let a snail in?
I guess so. If he's
the
a super fast
slowest
snail.
garage door ever. Slower than a snail.
Yeah. But anyway,
that's funny.
We made friends with him, and then we put him back outside in the cold where he belonged.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your other unrelated thing? Or was that both of them?
That was it. I have a related thing now, though.
Okay, let's do it.
Audience, thanks for just sticking around as Nate and
I don't know if they have. We're already like 3.5 minutes in. I think you lost them already.
Here's the beauties. It's just you and I hanging out, dude.
It is,
we happen to be recording at the same time. It's perfect. It's perfect. Okay, I think you'll appreciate this. I was thinking about Scythe the other day, which honestly probably happens pretty frequently. So maybe this isn't that dramatic. But I was thinking about the idea of getting more than one star in one turn. Now, walk with me here. I realized if you had a very specific scenario, you could get all 6 stars in a single turn.
Did you find the situation that this could happen?
I did. I had to think it through. So your top row action is going to be a move action. And it's already been upgraded so you can move 3 times. So 2 of those moves, you win a combat. There's your 2 combat stars.
Wait. What? Oh, okay. 2 separate combats. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just a cat just like jumped 4 feet in the air after a bird right outside my window.
Speaking of random animal encounters.
The animal stuff, dude.
Cody, turn around. Is there a snail behind you? Just check, dude. Just check.
Oh, dang it. He got inside, man. Okay, anyway, what was your question?
My question. What was my question? Oh, no. I thought you were saying that in one move with the same, mech or whatever, 2 different combats. But no, you mean 2 different mechs engaging in 2 different combats and winning.
So you move 2 different units and you win a combat with each one. Your third movement, which again, if you have an upgraded movement, you can get 3. You move your character onto an encounter. That encounter, let's say you already have 3 buildings built. Some encounters will let you build a building for free. So you get your 4th building. This is now your 3rd star. And then some objectives, they require you to like be on a certain combination of terrain, like occupy 3 mountain terrains or like around a single lake or something. If once you complete all your movements, you satisfy that, there's your 4th star. Now your bottom row action, I think the only way it'd work is if you're doing a recruit action. And so you get your 4th recruit, that's your 5th star, but then you place that recruit on the popularity bonus to get you 2 more popularity, and that maxes you out to your 18 population. There's your 6 stars, homie. One turn.
Are you secretly hoping that this is going to happen at some point if you play enough Digital Scythe?
That would be magnificent, but the thing is, I feel like you'd have to be playing a poor game to.
Well, I was just going to say you'd have to stop playing to win and start playing to see how many stars with your objective cards and whatever, how many stars you can get on one turn.
Yeah.
That's
I feel like
interesting.
the most I've done is, I don't know, maybe 3.
Three. I don't know if I've ever done 3, but like that's pretty epic in and of itself.
Yeah.
Especially if you're ending the game.
I can't remember the scenario. Yeah, that'd be dope. Just steamroll.
Okay. Cody, intro. late intro question.
8 minutes later.
So this is a pretty short one. This is a simple question, all right? But I'll be interested to see where you land on this.
Okay.
Mechanism or mechanic?
For what you call the thing?
I feel like you use both, and so because I'm very much partial to mechanism. I don't really do mechanic a lot because then I'm thinking about cars and whatever.
Yeah.
So I fall on mechanism.
I'm actually with you there. I think I heard one time that one of them is actually correct and the other isn't. I don't remember which one. I think my assumption is the one I like to use, which is mechanism, was the incorrect one.
Really?
Yeah. But it sounds better. I agree. Like you're saying mechanic. It's like, yeah, this isn't an auto shop. We're talking about mechanisms, dude.
Yeah, mechanism sounds a little more like esoteric language, right? It's a little more bougie.
Yeah.
Talk about
bougie.
mechanisms. Yeah.
Talking about slang here. It's a good word, dude.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cody, what'd you play this week?
Okay, I actually have a fun answer for you.
Hey.
I played Wormspan, baby.
You played Wormspan? Where'd you play Wormspan?
I did play Wormspan.
Did you buy it?
We played it at the Tabletop Loft, the new game. Well, the cafe already exists. The new space above the cafe designated for gaming in Salem.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, baby. It was pretty nice. It was super cozy, just like $5 entry. They're doing this little opening special where as long as you just buy something more than $5 in their coffee shop downstairs, your entry is free. So it's just a $5 credit.
The way that we use the word free is just so strange to me, but okay.
I know. Well, it's like after the I don't know, after the grand opening or whatever, if you buy entry for $5, you still have to buy coffee and stuff on top of it if you want it, but like otherwise
like a normal board game cafe.
Yeah, it's like a $5 credit for now that goes towards any drink or something downstairs. But anyway, we walked in and there's just a guy sitting there just kind of really bored. I guess he was the guy who worked there. So they actually have someone who operates it who can teach games.
I want that
play
job.
Games with
Pay
you.
me. I want that job.
I do too. I'm sure it does not pay super well, but that would be
not pay at all.
fantastic, dude. Your gift is that you just get to play board games in the evenings. Yeah. So anyway, we noticed that they had Wormspan. I was like, let's play Wormspan. So we played it. And my quick thoughts, because I know we're running over time already,
Yeah.
is I've played Wingspan so many times that almost literally I feel like I can sort of read a Wingspan board. Like I can see there's a card there, that's a good card or that's a bad card. Immediately take this, you can put it here, and you have this set up, start going for this. Like it's very reflexive at this point. Wormspan switches things up. So I was having fun, but I was sort of annoyed that I didn't know what to do.
Well, that's your problem, is that you were approaching it as the same game, which granted, they're pretty similar, but they're different.
Yes. You can definitely translate strategies over. Granted, I've only played one time, so that's kind of more my observation of it. But it's pretty cool what they do. They switch up, like eggs. You use as a resource more commonly for other things, and they're a little bit harder to get.
Really?
Because there's not a specific row.
You use them more, but they're harder to obtain.
Yeah, it's kind of this interesting balance. In the original Wingspan, you could just literally, it's called egg spamming, and you could get a whole bunch of eggs if you build up a good engine for it.
That's funny.
But in Wormspan, I don't no, there's not a specific row that gives you eggs. All the rows have modified bonuses the farther you advance along them, and each of them gives you like one egg at like the third spot. But then they have different specialties. But then there's also this turn system. So like in Wingspan, you have your cubes that you're spending. In Wormspan, there are like these little circle disc things, but you don't get a decreasing amount every round. It's always 6. Okay. But there's ways to earn extra turns. So people can end a game or end a round at different times. Like someone could play it such a way that they have 2 turns left and everyone else has none. So that's kind of a clever implementation. There's plenty other differences, and I won't get into all that, but I definitely want to play it again. It was a fun experience.
Okay, well, I'm glad. I mean, I haven't played it yet. Someone in our group has it. I really want to. I'm glad to hear that it's not a disappointment, right? You know, and in the way that apparently some other Stonemaier games have been for you in
yes,
recent past. So
particularly Stonemaier games that aren't actively designed by Jamie Stegmaier,
including this one. And so I'm glad to see that this one did better. Indeed. Although this one is this one designed by the same person that did Apiary though?
Yes, it is, and I think they had Elizabeth Hargrave as like a consultant for it, who did Wingspan.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah. What did you play, Home Slice?
All right, just last night I played the Downstream expansion for Meadow. I wouldn't say that I was super excited to play it because Meadow is a game that I like but don't love. I appreciate Meadow. Never gotten rid of it. Still play it every once in a while. Downstream is more of the same. It adds in another little area where you can draft river cards. And then there's kind of a river track that you can slowly move across throughout the course of the game and get some other little bonuses and stuff. And that's pretty much it, you know? So if you like Meadow, and if you play Meadow often, I would say it's a good addition. It's not really changing the game up at all, though, other than just adding in more content, maybe making the game a little bit longer. I don't think it's something I would buy because I don't play Meadow that often, you know? You know, maybe on average, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times a year. So I already play it so sparsely that it doesn't need that extra spice. And the extra spice isn't really making the game better. It's just making it more. But I could see that if it's a game that people play often, it's, a good expansion for sure.
I see. So it's sort of just kind of a sidestep for additional content then?
Yeah, it doesn't ramp up the complexity really. I mean, technically it's another thing to be thinking about, but it's not adding in new mechanisms. It's just kind of more of the same. So,
okay. Yeah. Okay, all right. I respect it.
Played Veil of Eternity, The Veil of Eternity. This one is a little simpler than I expected. It's a card drafting game, and then there's a couple little twists to, and like tableau building also. A couple little twists. One is that you can only play as many cards as whatever round you're in. So early on in the game, you're pretty restricted, but actually later on in the game, you feel more restricted because you kind of don't have the resources a lot of times to play what you want, or you don't have great cards towards the beginning of the game. But then
it starts out as a restricting game, but as you go, it just gets worse.
Basically, it gets more restrictive, yeah. But then it also has an economy system where you have 3 different denominations. You have 1s, 3s, and 6s. And you can only ever have 4 coins, regardless of their value. You have like basically 4 slots that you can fill with coins. And so that can be a very, very interesting mechanism in regards to how you pay for cards and not wanting to overpay, and so you kind of want to have some singles, but those singles are taking up just as much space as a 6 would, right? And so there's a lot of give and take on that aspect to it.
Yeah.
It's very light. I want to play it at a higher player count because I've only played it at 2, but yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle on it right now.
Okay. Would you recommend it?
Not yet. No. And I honestly,
okay.
because I think it's too simple. And like I said, I want to play it at 3 or 4 and see if that's where it shines. Because at 2, I don't know. I just don't know if it'll, like, it's kind of a nice light filler, but like, I don't know with the other light fillers that you already have, you know, Fantasy Realms and stuff like that. I don't know if it would really see the table. So.
Okay.
And last but not least, a biggie, a baddie. A game that I've always wanted to play, but I knew I would never purchase because it is absolutely enormous. Dwellings of Elder Vale.
Ooh.
This game is interesting. It feels kind of like a small game in a big box. Not to say that it would, like, I mean, it took us 4 or 4.5 hours, maybe even 5. Like, it was a long game. We played it at 5 players. But it's basically tile placement, worker placement, has a really cool mechanism of whenever you recall your workers off the board, you can trigger actions on your tableau that you've been building with cards. So basically you can like trigger a bunch of kind of free actions before you use those workers again. I really like that callback trigger actions mechanism. That's a lot of fun. It's something you really look forward to. A lot of times the recall turn in a worker placement game can be kind of boring.
Yeah.
This time it's exciting. You're like, that's what you're looking forwards to a lot of times. You're like, I got to get my workers out, and you have to get them all out before you can recall them. And so you're like, I need to get my workers out so I can recall them and trigger these actions. And then it's got a little bit of moving up tracks, like gaining influence with certain factions, which affects abilities. There's a lot of card play as well. A lot of combat with other players and with neutral monsters. So it was all right. I wouldn't say I loved it. I think 5 was it was such a long game, way too much downtime.
Okay.
I think it would probably shine at 3. And yeah, it was fun.
I kind of want to play that now, but I don't really want to buy it at the same time.
No. Don't buy it. And also, I really don't think it would do well at 2 because there's this kind of, there's a little bit of like competing for alliance, almost like Dune Imperium, where you have different factions and you're kind of competing with your influence on those factions. Okay. In this game, I really doubt that would work very well at 2.
Well, enough of that. That's a cool story, bro, but I feel like we should get into our game of the week.
Absolutely.
What say you? Okay. Our game of the week is no surprise because we now have a thing where Nate tells what we're going to talk about on the rest of the podcast at the beginning of the podcast, which is a neat trick to try to keep people to stick around. We're talking about Ares Expedition, as Nate discussed. Yes, basically the even more card game version of Terraforming Mars.
That's actually, like, that would have been too confusing, I feel like, to say that, but that's really the way I feel about it. Like, Terraforming Mars kind of already is just a card game.
I almost wish they had called this Terraforming Mars the card game, because there's Terraforming Mars the dice game, right?
Right. And the problem is this feels like this probably confused a lot of people as to whether or not it was an expansion, because it's called Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Right?
Exactly, and that's why it was not on my radar for a long time, because I don't even own Terraforming Mars, so just like, whatever, I don't need that. But then I bought it. I was like, okay, I'm glad I got this. I'm glad I finally figured out that this is a standalone thing. Well, the thing is, I want to try explaining it in the context of Terraforming Mars, but what if there's listeners out there who haven't played Terraforming Mars? Too bad, because
no mercy.
You're gonna go with how it goes. This takes the Race for the Galaxy mechanism. Mechanism, not mechanic. Yeah. Wherein there are 5 different phases that function very differently. One of them allows you to gain more cards. One of them allows you to play certain cards. One of them allows you to gain income and such. In Ares Expedition, it takes that mechanism and it shifts it a little bit. but each player, each phase at the same time reveals which phase they want to do. Or not each phase. Each round reveals which phase they want to do. And then everything that was revealed, everybody takes that phase. But if you are the person that reveals one of those 5 phases, only you get a certain bonus once you do that phase. And that'll make more sense once you actually play it. But it's cool. It's a neato idea, and they kind of just stole it and slapped it onto Terraforming Mars. And then they simplified Terraforming Mars, at least the board. In Terraforming Mars, there's a pretty in-depth system of you're putting down city tiles and greenery tiles and ocean tiles, and where you place them matters. Ares Expedition is a lot simpler. It's just one little board with ocean tiles, and it doesn't matter which ones you flip over. It's just random. And beyond that, it really is just Terraforming Mars. They maybe streamline a couple concepts. They modify a couple things. If I start talking any more about the differences, I'm going to get into my likes and dislikes, so I can't really explain that. But it's just it's a point salad-esque game where you can do a bunch of different things to get points. There's 3 different factors: the temperature, the ocean placement, and the oxygen level that you're trying to collectively increase to get to the end of the game. But as you increase those, you get points for it. And then there's just a whole bunch of engine building purely off of all the cards you have in your hand that you're slowly drawing from a big, massive, unique deck, and you're putting them down to build some cool synergies. How'd I do? I leave anything out?
Definitely not. I would say.
All right.
It's very
perfect.
If not succinct, at least very descriptive.
Yaha. Nailed it.
So for me, I'll kick it off. And I'm really gonna try not to compare this to the base game. Especially because the first thing I'm gonna talk about is that I think the art and the production is pretty decent.
Yeah.
The original game is just a dumpster fire in that regard. This one, I think it looks pretty decent, especially the version you have with the nice inserts and all that. The art is consistent and pretty good. I wouldn't say superb, but good enough. Overall, pretty decent production. The one thing I don't like while I'm talking about it is the way that you play out cards. I find is a little bit frustrating to let all the symbols actually be shown that you need to see. I found that a bit finicky, but other than that, yeah, pretty solid.
Yeah, a couple of my points, I do compare it to Terraforming Mars because that's just kind of how I
you do you,
it.
man.
Sure, but I definitely agree that the production is superior to Terraforming Mars
in literally every way, like every single way.
Every way. The art is better, although I have to wait. That'll be a dislike, so I won't say that. I won't say it. No spoilers. The art is not incredible, but it's better than the wacky, weird, somewhat photoreal thing that Terraforming Mars did. So I appreciate that. And I will let that be my first point.
All right. Something I appreciate about this game is how quickly it moves. It can be a bit chaotic, but the fact that so much of this game is simultaneous means it really punches along at a pretty quick rate. Everyone's picking their cards, everyone reveals, you figure out what the order is going to be, and everyone just does it at their own pace. Makes for a very quick game. There's virtually no downtime in that regard, unless somebody's being kind of slow. But basically, you are just constantly doing your thing, which makes the game move pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kind of ties in with my next point, which is the game is just easy to manage, especially compared to TM. Terraforming Mars... This is the TM experience, but in a streamlined system. So granted, they maybe cut out a couple things just to make it literally smaller and easier to play. But I appreciate that. I like how it's all just kind of comes down to the cards. There's like the resource cubes that you'll use as markers and trackers, but in that line, I also like the production tracker board that you have itself. It's especially nice when you have the inlaid version and not like original TM where you accidentally bump your board and then all your cubes just fly everywhere.
Then
you're
just out of the game.
Supposed to be what? Yeah, exactly. You just give up. So yeah, I enjoyed that. It's good.
My last point is kind of neutral, so you can have the floor until you're finished.
Oh, okay. I was going to say this is a satisfying engine builder. One could say the same thing of TM, but this has the advantage of being a little bit more streamlined. I like how there's all these cool synergies you can find. You can try to focus on different aspects of the game if you want to go more for like really strong titanium production, or switch over here and go for a lot of greenery and like bio things. And because of that, it lends itself to replayability. I've played this quite a few times, and pretty much each time I'm happy to come back to it. I like that there's different things you can focus on, different ways to explore it. Always a cool new experience, for the most part.
I will refrain from either agreeing or disagreeing.
All right, cool beans. And my final thing is still a comparison to TM, which is I like that the resources are easier to manage. So you don't have to do this whole like energy turns into heat. Is that how it works in TM?
Yeah.
Not the other way? Because you don't even have an energy resource. You have an energy tag in some of the cards in Ares Expedition, but that's a little bit simpler. Steel and titanium, you don't produce every round. You just have an ongoing discount, which maybe is a little bit less cool, but again, it's a little bit easier to manage. And then that whole little production tracker board just makes using all of that and viewing all of that much more streamlined.
I think with the discounts, instead of generating resources for steel and titanium, I think it makes the game a little bit less strategic because you can't play around with that as much. You can't have cards that play around with those resources. But it's very much a streamlining thing, right? To just be like, wherever it is, that's a discount. You don't have to be having multiple different kind of resources that you're doing math, trying to figure out how much, it's just like, it's a discount.
Yeah. The bummer is that you can't save up for something really expensive. You just have an ongoing flat discount,
Yeah.
So those are my likes. Hit your neutral thing, dude.
My neutral is about the actual action selection mechanism. I think it's okay. I think it's a superb idea. I think it's really cool that everyone has the same possible action. You all pick one. The one that you pick, you get to do the strong version of, and you get to do the weak version of the ones that everybody else picked. I think I like that kind of blind, maybe trying to guess what somebody else might do, whatever. The problem is I don't feel like it works very well in this game because I found, I've played this game a few times, and I found that more often than I would have liked, not that people are picking the same cards, but that the other cards that somebody picked, I can't really do a whole lot with. I'm talking specifically about the ones that let you play cards. It's like, it's exciting when, that person picked a card different from me, and it's play a green card. I can't afford to play any green cards, so skip, lame. I could have been a free action. Instead, it's just nothing, That, if it happens every once in a while, okay. I feel like it happens way too often in this game where somebody else is picking a card that you just straight up can't even do the action of, A little disappointing, but in general, I like the idea. It's exciting, and it's just a fun, he took it from Race for the Galaxy, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm going to riff off that a bit because I had the same thing down under dislikes as in almost dislike. So yeah, it's basically a neutral point for me. I almost don't like the phase system, and for the same problems as you were talking about. I think the idea is it's supposed to be kind of a mind game where you're trying to figure out, this person, they just produced, so they're probably not going to produce this turn. It looks like maybe they need cards, so I bet they're going to do phase 5, and then you're trying to figure out what to do. But it just doesn't work as smoothly as that. You run into lots of clunkiness in the same way that you described. And it kind of misses the sweetness from Terraforming Mars, where if you have monies, you just play your cards until you're done, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, you can have a whole bunch of money, whole bunch of monies, credits, and if you already played a phase, because you can't repeat a phase twice in a row yourself at least, and then no one else does that phase the next round, you're kind of just stuck holding all this money that you can't spend on the cards that you want to. So give and take, it's a neutral.
It's a good idea, but not always satisfying.
Yeah. So besides that, what do you hate about the game? What is just atrocious to you?
One of these is the flip side of one of my pros. So one of my pros is that the real-time game, all this simultaneous stuff helps the game move quickly. It's kind of, it's nice to keep that pace. You're always doing something. The downside to that, I find, is that there is very, very little player interaction, right? This game feels so multiplayer solitaire. It's just like everyone picked their card. All right, now head down, run your little engine with the actions that are available, right? It really doesn't matter what the other people are doing. I really enjoy player interaction in games, and so a game that sucks so much out of it is just kind of, and a lot of that comes from the fact that they got rid of the board, basically, right? In Terraforming Mars, that's where a lot of the player interaction happens, and it's all gone in this version. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah. The interaction is really just the communal effort towards the end conditions of the game, and that only matters like in the final turn of increasing one of those trackers to its maximum, where you're like, who's going to do it? But even then, if it goes up in a given phase, everyone else can still increase it and get benefits in the same phase. So even that isn't as much of a thing. So yeah, that I didn't have that as a listed dislike, but I get where you're coming from. My first dislike, these are actually just kind of petty complaints that I have, but the deck is hard to shuffle. It's this huge deck.
It's huge,
Wingspan
man.
has the same problem, especially when you add all the expansion cards in there. And I get if you want all these unique cards, you're going to have to just have a large deck, but you have to like split it into 2 piles and then shuffle those piles and then swap out half of the halves so you can shuffle those together and get it all nice and even.
What about yours? Don't you have a shuffler?
Card shufflers don't work well. I do, and I haven't broken it out in a while. It's just I don't know. I feel like by the time you get all the cards divided and set up on the shuffler, especially because the deck is so large, you can't shuffle the whole thing even with a 4-card shuffler or a 4-deck shuffler.
Yeah.
You still have to like split it, pull it out, and then do another.
I've had these same exact thoughts with Ark Nova now, especially with the Marine Worlds expansion in there. It's just like, it's a chore. It's like 2 straight minutes of just like shuffling in different ways to make sure that you can see some different cards than you did last time, to make sure all those like conservation projects aren't lumped together. So,
dude, with your electrical engineering study, I'm going to need you to figure out how to make a fancy, much more efficient card shuffler, and then we'll kickstart it.
I think it's needed.
We'll go 50-50 because it was my idea.
I think it's needed, honestly. If it doesn't already exist, like a really kind of premium version, I think one needs to exist. Yeah.
An attachment for a gaming table where it's kind of built in. You just sort of stick your deck in there and then it goes
cool.
And it shuffles it.
What does it go? All right,
like that.
Just checking. All right, another con for me. The board is, I wrote quite literally, the board is lame and almost unnecessary. Again, this really bugs me because in the base game, a lot of the player interaction and really cool stuff comes from the board. Here, they've almost entirely nixed it. Basically, you have the stupid oceans out there, which don't even need to be out there because you're just flipping them.
Yep.
Your plants aren't even on the board. They're just little point tiles you get, again, taken directly from Race for the Galaxy. And then really all it's used for is a point tracker and then tracking the 3 different, or the oxygen and the temperature. That's what the board is for. Everything else has been removed. It's just like a sad excuse for a board in a board game, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is just a tracker, and it's sad. It has these odd little divots on it where once you get some of the expansion materials, they like attach to it.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like that's not worth it. My final dislike is very petty, admittedly. But I think the cubes are less cool than Terraforming Mars. They're kind of this marbled appearance.
You would think so, but once you play Terraforming Mars like 5 times, that shellac starts coming off, and they look terrible.
I've seen that, and so maybe I'm just a bit too optimistic about it. But I like that sheen better than the marble.
No,
look.
Trust me, you're better off with the ones in Ares Expedition. I'll tell you what. Cody, don't you dare
shiny spray paint.
Don't you dare try and say that something about the Ares Expedition production is worse than the base. Like you were so off base by even suggesting that.
Unless you don't have the whatever first edition thing that I have, then it's close
still
to
not
on
worse.
par
Still not
with
worse.
TN. I don't know.
All right, last point for me. It's a general statement. I think that the game is well made, but for whatever reason, it's just never really been a satisfying experience. I've never walked away from a game of Ares Expedition really like with that sense of satisfaction, enjoyment, joy. Like, I really enjoyed that. I was always kind of like, yeah, I had some cards, ran my engine a bit. I obviously had a couple blue cards that were the superior cards, so I just was always running those, and then it ended, and we just saw who did a better job. Nothing else about what everybody else did mattered. You just see who got the most points. So it just kind of felt a bit cold for, various different reasons. And that's just personal. Like, this could be the perfect game for some people out there. And I know you like it a lot more than I do. And so, yeah, that's just kind of where I land on it.
Yeah. Well, if you actually won sometime, maybe you'd feel a little differently about all that.
Yeah, I've never even come close to winning. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that was Ares Expedition. A game that, honestly, we should have covered a long time ago, but we just didn't.
It is weird that we have taken so long to cover it, actually, because it's one that we've both played as of a couple of years ago. So...
yeah.
Should have gotten to it sooner, man.
I mean, here's the thing. Apparently we had 40 other games to do, so...
Right. As of today, Ares Expedition is officially ranked 164 on the Geek, so
really?
take my review with a grain of salt if you would rather trust the hard numbers. So
164 is pretty dope. But do you know what's even more dope?
I bet you're going to tell me.
Is the homemade board game Slang that we have come up with. I had a lot of fun doing this.
I had more fun than I thought I was going to.
I want to use these.
I was a bit worried that I wouldn't be able to come up with some stuff. And once I kind of sat down and got in the creative mode, I had some fun with it.
How many did you come up with?
I just did 5. I set that as my goal and
5?
Did 5, yeah.
Oh, okay. I did 9.
Well, you better start, and then you'll have a few extra at the end.
At the end. Okay. All right. So some of these I'm fairly proud of. Some of them are they're okay, right. But I just threw them all in there. The first one is, are you chucking the cherries on me? And this means, are you cheating? And I took inspiration from Quacks of Quedlinburg, where if someone just kept chucking their cherry bombs back in the bag, that'd be cheating. It'd be dishonest, be sneaky. So you'd be like, hey, dude, are you chucking the cherries on me?
You chucking the cherries.
Kind of suspicious. Yeah.
That's funny. I like it. Chucking the cherries.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, my first one is VAC. VAC. And this is in reference to a game that sucks the energy out of you. As in Brass Birmingham is such a vac. I couldn't even play King Domino afterwards, bro.
So is this a negative context or not necessarily?
No, not necessarily. Because that is how I feel about a game like Brass, for example. I like Brass, but Brass is the kind of game where it's like, Brass is what you do. You play Brass, and then that's I just couldn't do anything else. It's just it just sucks all the energy out, So
okay, that's pretty good. My next one, I mentioned to you before one time, and then in mentioning it gave me inspiration for hey, let's make up board game Slang. And it's let me know how it punches.
Yeah, I liked this when you sent that.
Yeah. So this refers to if someone's trying out a new game and you're asking them to let you know how it turns out. You say, hey, let me know how it punches. And this is in reference. It's a double entendre, because if something physically punches you, it has an impact on you, right? You want to know how it does. But new games, you always have to punch out the pieces, unless it's like a card game. And so it's punches. Let me know how it punches.
And it's already kind of a slang within the board gaming world to say you punched a game, right? Which means that you broke out a new game and got all the pieces punched out and everything. So to say that you've punched a game is kind of already something in there. So it's like a triple entendre then.
Dude. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Kickback. All right. So kickback refers to the profit that you make on flipping Kickstarter games. For example, with the kickback that Charles got on the Castles of Burgundy Deluxe Edition, he's probably going to retire to the Bahamas now, bro. Basically in reference to, oh, this game was just kickstarted, now it's ended, and oh, here's that game on the secondhand market for $100 more than you could have got it on Kickstarter. Still new and shrink.
I like how you took a phrase that's just already a thing, right, and you're just kind of morphing it for a board game term.
But it's just hey, what's the kickback on that, whatever. So,
what, we talking Like, accounting? What do you mean, dude?
Yeah, so it's like your profit margin, right?
Yeah. Okay. Kickback. You can also just like kick back. Or maybe with your kickback, you can then kick
right?
back.
He's kicking back in the Bahamas on his yacht. Yeah.
All right, I like that. Off of your Kickstarters that you sold.
Freaking
secondhand.
Charles.
Okay. All right, mine, this is sort of 2 in 1. Both Scythe inspired. Let's say someone is making a really strong move, especially like in a combat scenario, like they're doing a good show of force. You say, you're throwing 5s on me. Because like in Scythe,
yeah, okay.
when you're doing a combat and you show 5s, like if someone, their combat cards like that, that's really strong. Conversely, you can use this to say someone was bluffing. You say, you were throwing 2s, weren't you?
Like sandbagging?
They have a bunch of combat cards, but they're all 2s. Yeah.
That's funny. So you would use this not in a combat context, but you could use it in other contexts in board gaming.
Yes. I was thinking it'd kind of be more tailored to a combat scenario, but it doesn't really matter. Like you could be playing poker.
Sure.
And you're like, you were throwing 2s, which kind of has a double meaning because if someone threw 4 2s, that'd be really good.
It'd be very good.
Yeah.
So my next one, actually, somebody used recently. And so I'm wondering if it's not something I actually came up with, but it was like in my head already, and I accidentally created something that already existed.
Your subconscious muse.
Yeah, somebody used this in reference when they were talking about Magic the Gathering, and they used this term. Skeleton, which would be in reference to your original strategy in a game. For example, I have no idea what I'm doing in this game anymore. I should have stuck to my skeleton, bro. Huh. Somebody used this in regards to Magic, talking about your skeleton is kind of the bones of your starter deck, which you then kind of add to make your deck. And so it's not exactly the same thing. I was kind of thinking more in the realm of like, okay, I'm playing whatever, Scythe, and based on my mat and based on whatever, okay, I think I'm going to kind of go for this angle. Whatever. When you sit down, you kind of examine the state of the beginning of the game and you kind of figure out what you're going to pursue. I would call that like your skeleton.
Like this. And let's say if you have to pivot in the game and you change strategies, that's like growing a third limb.
I was going to say breaking a bone. Oh man, I kind of broke my femur when I did that.
My next one, it sounds kind of weird, and I know how it sounds, but I also don't care because it kind of works. Right. This is when you're trading trees for peas.
Trading trees for peas.
This is a game that has disappointing production. So literally, like Dinosaur Island, all the miniatures are plastic when they could have been wood. So you're trading trees, wood, for peas, plastic. So if you're swapping out like what it could have been or what it should have been.
Okay.
So if you ever pull out a game that like it should have been good, but they just didn't do a good job with the production. Like, that game traded trees for peas.
Yeah,
man.
They really kind of traded the trees on us here.
Yeah.
I feel like I wonder if that would just become, if that would just morph into like referencing something that has worse quality than it had in the past. For example, Ares Expedition, the later printings, like, man, they really kind of traded the trees on the later printings of Ares Expedition.
Okay. So you're just leaving out the peas part. You're just saying train the
I kind of like that more. It flows a little better, man. Like, man, they really traded the trees on this one.
Yeah, and you're not saying P, so that's nice.
The P's. Also, it's like the trees represent wood and the letter P represents plastic.
Exactly. I mean, it's slang, dude.
It rhymes.
Yeah. But maybe people just use trading the trees, but the full phrase that they're referencing.
And there's a lot of things like that in, like, a lot of phrases we use nowadays have longer, like, to the full expression is longer.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the, what's the Jack of Trades one where it's like Jack of Trades.
Master of None.
Master of None, but still better than a Master of One. Something like that. Nobody says the second part. We all just use the first part. But
yeah. I didn't even know there was like a third component to that phrase. So it's sort of like a double version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your next one?
Juke. This is a verb.
Juke.
This is the action of a game promising something and not delivering in other areas. For example, the Veil of Eternity art kind of sucks, not gonna lie. That cover juked me hard, bro. So, in this example, and Veil of Eternity is a great example of this, where I think the cover looks fantastic. It looks incredible. And then you pop the game open, you look at the cards, and it's like a bunch of rip-off Pokemon art. It's terrible. And I don't want to be too rude to the people that did the art. There were multiple different artists, but it looks really just kind of a little cheap, a little sad, a little like they just kind of like, it almost just looks like computer generated images.
Yeah.
And it's just, and the cover looks so great. And then the cards just look so bad. So it juked me, man. It juked me. It had me thinking it was going one way and it totally went the other way.
Yeah. Okay. I can dig that. I dig that. My next one I'll get to later. I'm going to go down to one of the ones I was going to do later.
Bit of a teaser.
It ties in a little bit with what you were just saying. This is if a game is all air and flair. This refers to a game that doesn't deliver on substance. Like maybe it has a beautiful cover, a lot of hype around it. The game concept sounds fun, but when you pull it out, it doesn't deliver. And it's all air and flair. The air refers to if you ever open up a game box, and it's just got this big bulky divider and then 3 things in it. So there's literally just a lot of air in the box.
Yeah.
It's like you thought you were getting more, but you didn't.
Yeah.
So
Flamecraft was all air and flair.
Yeah. Yes, actually. It was more physically filled, so less of the air, mostly just flare. But the phrase, you still use the phrase. It's all air and flare.
It doesn't have to be accurate. You just use it.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, come on. Flamecraft was really like trading the trees, Actually wasn't, though. Had a pretty good production, right?
People are going to get some good kickback off of that, though, let me tell you.
They did, I think. All right, my last one is flipping discs. Which means to do really, really well at a game. For example, Angie was bored, Devin was discouraged, and Emilio was seconds away from flipping the table and screaming because Steve had been flipping discs all night, bro.
Where's this come from?
Flipping discs is a general reference to you're moving a lot of pieces, you're doing a lot of things, you're kind of wheeling and dealing, making lots of moves, so you're flipping, moving lots of tokens, and flipping discs just sounds cool, I feel like. So if somebody's doing really well in a game, they're flipping discs. Oh man, Anna was really flipping discs at Meadow last night, even though there's no discs at Meadow.
Nate, I'll allow this to stand if you can just give me one example of a game that has discs that you're doing well if you're flipping a lot of them.
Messina 1347.
Ah.
You have different kind of
I don't know how the discs work.
Workers on your board that have upgraded versions. And all the workers, which are technically not discs, they're squares, but the workers also are upgraded if you flip them. There's a lot of flipping in Messina if you're doing well.
Okay, I thought you just chose this because it sounded nice, and I couldn't think of any examples of a game.
But it does sound nice too, right? Moving cubes doesn't sound as good as flipping discs. That's how you get Slang to catch on. It doesn't have to be totally accurate. It just has to sound cool and imply something.
Yeah, dude, he was really advancing on tracks. Know what I'm saying?
Cody was really flipping discs in Fantasy Realms last night, bro. We talk about Fantasy Realms way too much. It gets brought up way too much. I'm gonna completely expunge, if that's a real word, expunge Fantasy Realms from my memory. I want to stop referencing it constantly.
Okay.
Happens too often.
Why do you keep doing that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna start referencing Flamecraft more.
It's weird. You don't even own it. I'm the one who owns it.
Yeah. I never see it.
Anyway. Okay. So I have 4 more to go through then, so I'll just try to run through them. Okay, the first one, this can have a double meaning. This is if someone is a neonatic. This is...
All right, I thought we were going a different direction there for a second.
No. This is either someone who is obsessed with new games, basically Cult of the New. So, neo meaning new, neonatic. Or someone who's obsessed with the deluxe editions of games. Because some of those will come, Flamecraft, for example. You can get the neoprene player mats. I think Wingspan, some of the Stonemaier games will have neoprene deluxe editions you can get.
Can I
neonatic.
Interrupt you and venture a guess here?
Sure.
Is this coming from Neotopia as a game that somebody would just buy because it's new and not because it's actually good?
I wasn't even thinking of that, actually, but I suppose that could kind of qualify. I was thinking this more in a positive context of someone who just likes new stuff. They like deluxe things. They're a neonatic.
All right. So we're not throwing shade at Arcane Wonders then. All right.
Nah. I mean, we've done that plenty of times already, so they don't need any more. All right. Then this next one, this is when a game is being sold purely by the IP and like basically nothing else. This is you're saying, they're shiny dicing you.
Oh no, no, Cody.
Bringing that back, dude.
Shiny.
You got shiny diced. Yeah. I mean, because it's literally like shiny too, right?
Okay, shiny new.
Like looks all appealing. Whatever. Yeah. As I'm thinking about it, I don't think the dice in shiny dice are even shiny.
Missed
They're
opportunity,
just kind of like
man.
a dull plastic. I know. What are they thinking? All right, second to last one. I'm kind of proud of this one. This is I got Rodneyed.
Okay. I'm not sure how to feel about that. I don't think I'll be saying it.
Okay. This is when you were really hoping for something in a game. Like you're gonna make a roll and you really need a specific roll, or you're gonna flip over a card or draw a card. You're like really hoping for something, but then it doesn't turn up. Like when there's a new game you want to learn and you're really hoping there's a how to play video for it on YouTube, but then Rodney Smith did not make one. So you're like, I got Rodneyed.
But didn't you not get Rodneyed? Like, if he didn't make a video, didn't you not get Rodneyed?
Well, but he's still sort of involved because you're frustrated with him at that point.
He's actively not involved because he didn't make a video.
He didn't deliver. He got Rodneyed, man.
Okay.
Alternatively, you can also just yell Smith as a profanity if it happens to you.
All right. Checks out.
Yep. All right. My final one is, this is referring to when a game is nearly over. It's like in the end stages. You say, okay, we're 5 and drive here, guys. 5 and drive. Because inside, if someone has, if they have their 5th star and you're driving for the 6th star to end it, you know it's going to end soon. So it's 5 and drive.
So we're on 5 and we're all driving. Like
for the end, for the 6th star. Not you're on I-5, the interstate, and drive.
I was gonna. It kind of sounds like high and dry, but that would be kind of not. That wouldn't really work. 5 and drive.
Maybe if someone has like 1 star and then you get your 6, so it's like you 5 and drived, and now they're high and dry.
A drived is not a word, by the way, Cody. This podcast is kind of 5 and drive right now. Coming to a head here. Oh no, we already came to a head if we're over. Coming to a close. I sincerely hope that at least one of these starts being used by somebody somewhere, even if we never find out about it. I just want somebody to use some of these at some point.
That'd be fantastic. I would love that. Which one do you hope gets used the most?
Which one do I hope gets used the most? I'm gonna reference mine first because I'm looking at mine. I feel like I want flipping discs to be used, but I don't. It sounds so stupid. Probably most likely kickback. I don't know. I'm trying to. I without being able to see yours, it's two. Which one of yours do you think is the most?
We can just each give our own. Probably, are you chucking the cherries on me?
The cherries.
That or let me know how it punches.
I like punch. I like the let me know how it punches. I do like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good one.
What's run through your list again? I'll decide what my favorite one was.
It was vac, kickback, skeleton, juke, and flipping discs.
Flipping discs, just because it sounds.
It does sound. It sounds good, man.
Yeah, it does. And remember, if you can get Tom Vassell to use one of the board game slangs we made up, we'll invite you on the podcast. I'm your host, Nate Clark, seated halfway across the country from me, Cody Pennington, and our special guest, Nate Clark.
Me. Just to interview myself. That'd be great content.
So Nate, what is your greatest accomplishment in life? Well, let me tell you.
I'll just set myself up for all like the greatest questions that make me seem like an amazing person.
I'd listen to that podcast.
Well, you know what you should do, listener? You should listen to that podcast and all the other podcasts. You should share them with your friends. Obviously, if you're playing board games, I hope you have a group of people that you play with. Probably they also might like some board game related content. We have it on Spotify. It's on YouTube. Shoot it to them, and I'm trying to think of it. Won't juke them. All right, it won't juke.
Yeah,
it'll deliver.
Right. We're not shiny dicing you.